finances. One of the big things I think I personally learned is how ingrained your fitness is and your body, mind, in terms of creating wealth and becoming successful as well. So one thing we think about firstly is like, what does fitness or healthy, like being healthy, actually mean to you? Because I think a lot of people have different values and meanings for this, and we all have different goals, aspirations, and these things will naturally change over time as we evolve. So the goals and aspirations you had at 20, then completely different to what you had at 30 to what you have at 40. I think being realistic in terms of what you're looking for is going to make a big difference in terms of where you're at. So the first big thing and a big secret I want everyone to think about in here is identifying to you like what you really want is from your health, fitness, business and life. So not just to like lose weight, but like why do you want to lose weight? Do you want to be more confident? Do you want to have like sex with your partner? Do you want to have more energy? Do you want to have more confidence when you walk into a room at work or anything like that, have more of a presence? Think about what it is you really want and why it is you really want to achieve that. And like now, can you guess what the most important factor is that help you get results? Because a lot of people probably want to get this one in terms of what I think it is actually accountability. So as human beings, we're inherently don't want to let other people down. So or disappoint other people. So we don't let our family down, we don't let people who work for us down, we don't let anyone else down. So if you have accountability to other people around you, that makes a big difference. That could be the network of people you have in the room, like Dee Ludlow, obviously the guys who provide Dee, coaches and the clients we have at CJ Coaching. We have accountability is a big factor in you being successful, because also in fact like you keeping other people accountable will help everyone else be successful as well. So when I really realised personally that accountability was a big thing pushing me forward and helped me go to another level with pretty much everything. So one of the big things I see with a lot of people is really easy for people to go start trying to get in shape, or they want to start an online business, but the amount of people who actually see it through is very small. But you becoming accountable to other people really helps you do that. And a lot of the reasons I've been successful very quickly with what I've done is by having accountability and working with a lot of people and taking advice from people who know a lot more about specific things, in particular three of these people in this room, which would be obviously Dean, Dee, and Frank. So Frank's given me a kick up the arse pretty much on an hourly basis for the last 3 years, and a lot of anxiety and stress within that.
Dean can solve that.
What's that?
Dean can solve that.
Yeah, it's like a battling thing. Frank stresses me out, and I message Dean being like, my blood pressure's really high.
And it turns out the blood pressure monitor's fault.
that was actually the irony about 2-3 years.
Chasing high blood pressure for about a year and a half, and then you got a new monitor, and all of a sudden it's like.
The particular point was I went in for surgery and had my blood pressure done before, and I was like, that's a bit low. That seems a bit weird.
And like his resting heart rate was like low 40s. I'm like, this doesn't make sense, Charlie, that your heart is beating so slow for your blood pressure.
So I've always been an outlier. But the thing about having accountability to people who have a huge amount of specialist knowledge in specific fields, and obviously you've seen that already from Dean, Dee, and Frank, is that you literally eliminate the guesswork. So that's the fastest way for you to go where you are now to where you want to be, is to literally have people who know like absolutely everything inside out in terms of that subject. So everyone here, I imagine, like you've taken a huge amount of value from this already. So you should be hugely blessed to be introduced to these people, because they've been a huge influence to me personally. Secret number 3 would be fear of investing in yourself. So everyone's here obviously paid for a ticket. Everyone's invested in Dee, working with me, whoever it would be. One of the things that's allowed me to progress very quickly over the last few years is personally investing in myself. So I've spent a fairly enormous amount of money in terms of personal self-development in the last 3 years, probably £200,000 maybe, in terms of business masterminds, coaching, and other like, events or whatever. But it's one of those things that the biggest asset you actually have in your life is you, and you're the most valuable thing you have, and people can never take that away from you. So even Michael was talking earlier about getting sued and losing all your shit or whatever happens, like, if I lost everything tomorrow, I know exactly what I did to get to where I am now, and I have those skills which I've acquired from working with the right people, learning and being in the right networks. So like those things you can't destroy overnight, because that's something you physically can't take. So invest in yourself and become the greatest version of you is the most important thing, like I say. Secret number 4, so that's self-awareness. I think that's something that often comes with age, and I think going through difficult times is something you probably become aware of. So by becoming self-aware, why this is important is because you can then identify what's holding you back or why you're potentially self-sabotaging yourself. So from, say, for example, a fitness and nutrition perspective, if you can stay on a diet, say, for example, Monday to Friday, but then at the weekend you tend to go off the rails, try and identify why is it happening. Are you putting yourself in the wrong environments? Are you going to eat as much as you like restaurants? Like, if you put yourself in those sort of situations where you know you're going to go off the rails, then you identify the problem that you can then solve. So if you're trying to become like the best version of yourself, trying to identify where you're sabotaging yourself and holding yourself back is really, really important. And when you understand this is like, it's super, super powerful to make you unstoppable. When you understand your own psychology and how you think, and maybe what makes you anxious or what makes you stressed out, because you can then start to control that. And that's where you become like literally unstoppable to everything you want to achieve. Secret number 5 is structure. So Frank's another big one. He's ingrained this into me in terms of having a lot of structure in terms of your day and the way you run everything. And that's one of the big things that fitness and nutrition and the whole training situation has given to me, is understanding the importance of having structure in terms of the way I eat, the way I exercise. I basically would build my week, because I work myself as ideal, but obviously I can build my day essentially around my workout and my work and the rest of that. But one of the big things people find that you talk about kind of really structured, I think it's really restrictive. But the reality is that actually structure gives you freedom, because you don't actually have to think about anything. It's the same thing about, like I say to clients when they come and work with us initially, one of the things that I really like saying is like, eat like a dog initially. And it sounds a bit derogatory, but in terms of like, you want to eat the same thing every day, measure the amounts, and that's the best way generally to get results. But also, if you're eating the same thing every day, you don't have to think about it. It's one less decision you have to think about. And if you're really busy in terms of business, the more things you have to think about, the more decision fatigue you're going to have, and your head's going to be spinning. And that's one of the big reasons you look at people like Mark Zuckerberg, for example, wear the same thing every day, because he's got a million things to think about. Deciding what pair of shoes or jeans he's going to wear is not really going to be particularly important to him. So, pretty much covered that. And talk about next in terms of the most valuable thing in the world isn't money and it's not time, but it's your focus. So trying to remove the amount of decisions you have to make on a daily basis is really important. Another big thing I picked up from Frank is how he's pretty much automated and delegated his life. I was asking him about how he's structured his, is it nanny or your au pair, about all the tasks he do?
Yeah.
So he sent me a screenshot the other day from his like a message saying what breakfast is ready or something.
Yeah.
So I think again like a feedback loop. I think Dean was sending you a diet, you then give to the au pair to then give to you.
Yeah.
So it's a nice little automation. But by becoming structured and very focused, you can excel on one thing at a time. And it's actually proven if we try and do multiple different tasks at the same time, it actually ends up taking longer and become less successful with what we're trying to achieve. So one of the best things you can do is becoming very structured in terms of knowing exactly what you need to be doing and when, so that you can focus on one key core task. Which again, if you listen to Frank earlier, one of the things he talks about was like normally doing like deep focus work earlier on in the day, and then having that clear time to think, have a clear mind. And then last one will be secret number 6. You don't have a destination on a map. So one of the things you want to work relentlessly and be super successful is if you don't have a definitive goal in terms of what does this look like for you. Like, what's the goal for you in 3 years' time? What's the goal for you in 5 years' time? What's the body you want to have in 5 years' time? What's the business you want to have in 5 years' time? What's the net worth you want to have in 5 years' time? What's the network you want to have in 5 years' time? What does life look like for you in that period of time? And if you don't know what you want, you can't actually have a plan of how to achieve it. So when you start to like break things down, I don't know why, but I always find that on planes is always a good time to think. Like, I always like to sit there and try and work out goals and think about, reflect on life. And I think that's one of the best things you can do, because then once you've got a concise idea in terms of, okay, this is how I want to be in 12 months, 3 years, 5 years, you can then start to try and break those things down into a smaller fashion in terms of bite-sized chunks that are more achievable. The big thing when I see when people don't have a goal, in particular, say from a fitness side of things, and it's they become like a rudderless ship because they're eating healthy, they're exercising, but they look exactly the same as they did 5 years ago. Nothing ever changes, in my opinion. It's a complete waste of time, because as human beings, and even more so probably for men, like we seek progression, and progression in life makes us happy. We don't want to be the same person we were last year. We want to try and create a better body, we want to have more energy, we want to be more successful, we want to have a better reputation, we want to try and keep compounding all those things for you going forwards, rather than staying stagnant where you are. And that's probably what's going to lead you to happiness in terms of what you generally don't really want. So, practical takeaway points to implement. Number one, work out what your goals are, like what you actually want from your life, fitness and business. So I've mapped those out in the next 24 hours. Set a concise timeline in terms of how you're going to achieve these goals. Thirdly, we get a proven plan to eliminate guesswork. Then get an accountability partner, whether it's a friend who's in your network or group, or get a coach in a specific niche. So I'd have someone, I probably have 4 or 5 people coaching in different aspects of my life constantly, from psychologists to nutritionists or whatever it might be, like take advantage of the amazing skilled people around the world in their specific niches. Set a daily routine with time blocks, and I would actually say one of the best things you can do with having a daily routine with time blocks is also blocking in time for yourself for like fun stuff you're going to do. So actually make sure you spend time on yourself and you can actually take some time out. Investing in yourself and back yourself and be confident with what you're going to do. I think one of the things you do when you put big investments into yourself is this big, like, there's a big sign to you that you're going to take a big step forward and successful, and you backing yourself. I think if you're very cautious, I don't spend money in like making myself better, you're just admitting you're not good enough to take the next step forwards. And then number 7, which is a big one, I think a lot of people don't do, is seek criticism from the right people, because it will make you better and work harder. So I think one of the big things you should always do, like I'll probably message Frank probably once a week, what do you think I should do next? Like always seek criticism from people you respect. And I would say that actually from people you respect, people I would be wary of maybe listening to criticism from are often some of the people who are closest to you, which is often maybe family, parents who don't necessarily understand what you want to do. Because that's one of the things that probably happened when I first started doing what I was doing, what I'm doing now, is the people who were criticising me at the time were often maybe like parents and family who didn't quite understand what I was trying to achieve or what I was trying to do going forwards, which is probably happening to, I imagine, some of the people doing the M&A stuff in this room, like doing their buying businesses and stuff, but your parents are like, what the fuck are you doing? But it's one of those things sometimes you have to say, like, blinkers and focus on what you're doing, and then just back yourself would be the big one. Think about where you'll be next year is a big thing I'd say, because I think we'll all agree that years go faster and faster and faster, and it's your own conscious choice of every decision and action you make on a daily basis of where you're going to go. And I'd say, like, if anyone wants 2 books in terms of, which make a big difference in terms of habits and maybe your success going forward if you're struggling right now, would be Atomic Habits, and then another one would be The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. Probably 2 of the best books in terms of you reflecting on the daily decisions you make and how they can compound for you to be more successful or against you. Whether that's the meal you eat, you not getting out of bed early enough, drinking too much tonight, whatever it might be. Just put a lot of thought into that, and that can really change for you going forwards. And I wrapped it up quite quick, that's why. Any questions? Drew.
I see you going like, oh man, I think you work out 3 times in the morning. So what do you do? Like you said, like sometimes you take a break or like it's like a stop, and then instead of going the next day or going that afternoon when you actually have time, like how do you inspire yourself to like reach that?
That's a really, really good question. So a lot of the time, and then somewhere I say a lot, it's not about being motivated, it's about being disciplined and just learning the skill of discipline. Because when you understand and you learn that you can make yourself do something you know you have to do even though you don't want to do it, that's a superpower in itself. Because the last few weeks I've had a lot of shit going on, and working out has been the least of my priorities. Yeah, I've still done it because I have self-respect for myself, knowing that I need to do this, so I will make myself do it even if I don't want to or I don't see it as a priority at the time. And I think it's you just addressing that like little bitch voice in your head being like, oh, I don't want to do it today, I've got a lot going on. It's like, you just need to deal with it and just be disciplined with yourself and make yourself do it, because ultimately, if you don't do something you're supposed to do, you're going to feel guilty and bad probably for the rest of the day. And if you go and then do it afterwards, you feel way, way better for doing it. Last question?
No,
Cool. Any other questions? Being better than the person I was yesterday. I think I'm addicted to progress, and I seek. It's a bit of maybe like a dopamine addiction. Dee might have diagnosed me with that, but like I'm constantly trying to like get maybe a new high of achieving more or progressing more, and just trying to keep constantly improving. But I think that's probably something I may be still searching for, maybe what my why is. But I have fallen in love with the process of getting better at everything I'm doing. So I'm just trying to learn more and progress in all aspects. Like even speaking in front of you, like today, like a year or two ago, I would shit myself about that because naturally I'm a very introvert person. Like I can talk to camera now, I can do podcasts, do whatever you want. But like 5 years ago, I couldn't have done that. But these are all skills and things you learn, and it's all about pushing yourself into uncomfortable situations and changing your mindset, if that makes sense. Because I know it's really corny and cliche, but you don't change or progress staying in a little comfort bubble zone. Like you're only going to progress by like putting yourself in really uncomfortable, difficult situations.
What was your process to finding like the likes of Frank, and then like ensuring that he was actually the right fit for you?
So that actually initially came about from investing in a mastermind. But I ended up flying to Florida for like 2-3 weeks, and I harassed Frank at an airport, and I was like, let's work out. But actually, this is like some weird law of attraction. I've told this a few times. I heard about Frank on a podcast, Craig Ballantyne's podcast, about Frank from the Netherlands, 20,000 plus. Who the fuck is this guy? So I was like, trying to look up on Google, Instagram, I couldn't find him. And I ended up going to this business mastermind in Florida, and Frank's there. I was like, that's interesting. And then I managed to talk to him at the airport, and then I can't remember how we ended up training at like 6 a.m. in Gold's Gym in Nashville or something. And then it was from then onwards we became friends, really. Again, it's an example of spending money and backing myself, knowing that like everything works out, pays off. And even if I spent $3 grand to go to a one-day event in October, and the best thing that came from it, they told me a simple thing was do a 90-day performance review with every single person who works for you. And like, I've been told that before, it's really obvious, but by me actually paying that money to go there and someone I respect telling me directly like this is really important, it made me action it and realise the value of doing it, if that makes sense. So it's often, and like the compound effect of me spending that money to go to then America, or like what Frank would be here right now. So like, that's why I talk about people too afraid to sometimes spend money to go and try and bet themselves, because you don't think even like the knock-on consequences from that. Like Frank wouldn't know Dean either, like the connections from all of that is insane. Any other questions?